Number 7. Nicholas Rosca. Two deputy U.S. Marshals spotted a suspicious man outside the Maryland residence of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh in the early morning hours of June the 8th of 2022, when the individual in question, later identified as 26-year-old Nicholas Rosca, noticed the federal agents. He began walking down the block. Rosca then called 911, reportedly telling the emergency dispatcher that he was armed and intended to murder Judge Kavanaugh. He also indicated that he was considering using the gun to end his own life instead. Members of the Montgomery County Police Department were sent to the area, where they took Rosca into custody. Upon searching the man's backpack, the officers reportedly found a tactical police vest, a tactical knife, pepper spray, zip ties, a pistol, and 2 magazines of ammunition. They also discovered a collection of burglary tools that included a hammer and a crowbar. Rosca was subsequently interviewed by the FBI, whereupon his previous statements were confirmed, and it was determined that he had in fact planned to assassinate the Republican jurist. According to subsequent reports, the man was upset over the leaked Supreme Court draft opinion that indicated the landmark court decision Roe v. Wade was expected to be overturned. Rosca also believed that Judge Kavanaugh would work to loosen gun control laws in the wake of the mass shooting in Uvalde, Texas, that resulted in the death of 21 people. He allegedly told the police that he plotted to murder Kavanaugh in order to give his life purpose. As was detailed in the Department of Justice press release, Rosca faced a federal indictment on 1 count of attempting to murder a justice of the United States. As of the latest updates on the case, the man's initial court appearance hadn't yet been scheduled. Number 6. Tara Lambert. Former model Tara Lambert from Circleville, Ohio, was accused of trying to hire a hitman to murder her husband's ex-wife in July of 2015. The assassin whose services she was enlisting, however, was actually an undercover police officer. He recorded their interactions and the $125 down payment they'd agreed upon in the parking lot of a Kentucky Fried Chicken. Lambert was subsequently arrested and charged with 1 count of conspiracy to commit aggravated murder. In January of 2016, she was found guilty and sentenced to 7 years in prison, but would only end up serving 16 months at the Ohio Reformatory for Women before the 4th District Court of Appeals overturned her conviction on a technicality. The charges were levied against Lambert again in February of 2018, but she pleaded not guilty, triggering a retrial. Then in July, she was convicted for a second time and consequently sentenced to 5 years in prison, with credit for the 16 months she'd already served. Number 5. Thomas Bart Whitaker. On December the 10th of 2003, Texas man Thomas Bart Whitaker told his family that he'd taken the last of his college exams and would thus be graduating from Sam Houston State University in Huntsville. The 24-year-old subsequently met up with family members for a celebratory dinner at a restaurant in Stafford. Upon returning home later that night, they were met by an armed burglar wearing a black ski mask who gunned down Whitaker's brother and mother. The young man's father sustained a non-fatal gunshot wound to the shoulder. After the sound of gunfire had prompted him to run inside the home, Whitaker was the last to enter the residence, at which point he was shot in the left arm by the gunman, who then fled out the back door. Paramedics were called to the scene but were unable to save Whitaker's brother, who was pronounced dead within minutes of being shot. Shortly thereafter, his mother passed away as well, while she was being airlifted to Memorial Hermann Hospital. In June of the following year, Whitaker traveled to Mexico, where he found work in a Saralvo furniture shop under the assumed name Rudy Rios. He remained there for over a year, but the investigation into the deadly home invasion eventually led Texas authorities to issue a capital murder warrant against him. It emerged that Whitaker had enlisted an individual named Chris Brashear to kill his family. It reportedly instructed the hitman to fire the non-life-threatening shot into his arm in order to divert the attention of law enforcement away from him as a potential suspect. During the case's court proceedings, the prosecution argued that Whitaker had devised the murder plot in pursuit of monetary gain, as he'd reportedly stood to inherit approximately $1.5 million after the death of his parents and brother. He was ultimately convicted of capital murder and sentenced to death. However, after he'd spent several years on death row, his sentence was commuted to life imprisonment without parole. The decision reportedly came only 40 minutes before Whitaker was scheduled to be executed. Number 4. Annabella Jukes. Police in Albuquerque, New Mexico arrested Annabella Jukes in January of 2022 for her alleged role in a botched kidnapping plot that resulted in the death of 24-year-old Elias Otero. Prior to the incident, which had occurred on February the 11th of 2021, Jukes and her accomplices had targeted the man's younger brother on social media, intending to abduct and hold him for ransom. The victim was lured into meeting up with 18-year-old Jukes via Snapchat. On the day of their scheduled rendezvous, he was ambushed by Jukes and her 3 accomplices, one of whom was identified as Adrian Avila. Police records detailed how the suspects had dragged the man from his vehicle, demanding cash and jewelry at gunpoint. They subsequently drove to the victim's house and ordered him to tell his brother, Elias, to bring them money as well as a gun. The older Otero emerged from the home with a firearm in hand and threatened to shoot his brother's kidnappers, at which point Avila opened fire, killing him instantly. Both Avila and Jukes were charged with an open count of murder, kidnapping, 2 counts of armed robbery, tampering with evidence, and conspiracy. Number 3. Amy Bessie. On the morning of November the 14th of 2012, Las Vegas man Robert Bessie was driving to work on Interstate 15 when he was shot in the neck by a gunman in a gold-colored SUV traveling in the lane directly adjacent to his. Although he was seriously injured in the ambush attack, Bessie ultimately survived. He later told the authorities that he'd recognized the vehicle used by the shooter as belonging to a woman who was in a relationship with his estranged wife's brother. Nevada police subsequently launched an investigation into the matter, which led to the discovery that the victim's wife, Amy Bessie, had personally orchestrated the attempted murder plot. According to court records, the 43-year-old woman had solicited the help of her son Michael and brother, an ex-convict named Richard Pearson, to carry out the shooting of her husband during his early morning commute. Upon the discovery of her direct involvement in the crime, Amy was arrested and charged with 7 felony offenses, including conspiracy and attempted murder. During the trial that followed, prosecutors alleged that Amy had formulated the murder plot against her estranged spouse in order to recoup his $250,000 life insurance policy, which would have been inaccessible to her following the finalization of their divorce. In March of 2014, Amy was convicted on each of the 7 counts levied against her, and she was consequently sentenced to 14 to 44 years in state prison. Today's topic was requested by Standing Tall. Fuck these culture vultures. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comments section below. Number 2. Ryan Grantham. Canadian actor Ryan Grantham, best known for his appearance on the popular teen drama series Riverdale, surrendered to Vancouver authorities in March of 2020. The man willfully submitted himself to law enforcement after he'd fatally shot his mother in the back of the head, allegedly while she played the piano. The 24-year-old reportedly covered the dead woman's body with a bed sheet before surrounding her with rosaries and candles. It would later be revealed that Grantham had carried out the grisly matricide in order to save his mother from witnessing his plot to assassinate Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. He set the plan into motion immediately following the shooting. The authorities later detailed how the actor had packed his car with multiple guns, ammunition, and 12 Molotov cocktails before setting off for the Rideau cottage where Trudeau lived. Before his arrival at the Prime Minister's Ottawa residence, however, Grantham reportedly changed his mind about the murder plot. He briefly considered committing a mass shooting on the campus of Simon Fraser University, from which he'd previously dropped out. Grantham eventually decided to turn himself in before anyone else was harmed, and he was subsequently charged with murder in connection to his mother's slaying. In March of 2022, Grantham pleaded guilty to second-degree murder, which carries a mandatory life sentence in Canada. Number 1. Barry Morphew. Colorado woman Suzanne Morphew went missing after going on a bike ride near County Road 225 and West Highway 50 in Maysville on Mother's Day 2020. The Chaffee County Sheriff's Office organized a wide search following the May the 10th disappearance. And efforts to track down the married mother of 2 included the execution of more than 135 search warrants. across the state. The case experienced few notable developments for the better part of a year. Then in the spring of 2021, it was announced that the missing woman's husband, Barry, had been taken into police custody. Court documents indicated that the 53-year-old had been charged with first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and attempting to influence a public servant, all in connection to his wife's disappearance and the ensuing investigation. Although the police weren't able to find Suzanne's body, her mountain bike and helmet were discovered on the side of a county road in Salida, near the family's residence. The case took a dramatic turn in April of 22 when prosecutors dropped all of the charges against Barry. In an emotional interview with ABC News, he and his two daughters urged Colorado investigators to continue their efforts to find Suzanne's body so that the truth of what happened to her could finally be uncovered. Thanks for watching. Would you rather have all your co-workers plot to get you fired or be despised by all of your relatives? Let us know in the comments section below.